As crazy as it sounds, I almost feel sorry for Apple. They can't seem to get it right. They listen to the voices, people saying, we want a cheaper iPhone. They bought out the 16E and they're told it lacks too many features and it's pointless. But I want to look at that another way. Maybe the features they've taken off of this phone weren't being used. Maybe the features we've got left are the important features that we'll actually use on a daily basis, which makes me wonder, is the iPhone 16E actually the perfect iPhone? I'm David, and this is D-Talking Tech. When you decide to go and buy a device from Apple, nobody's got a gun to your head. You have made that decision. Presumably, you like the idea of the premium brand that Apple is. When you buy into that premium brand, you're not only getting that device, but you're getting 24/7 support online. You're getting physical stores on the high street where there are experts. So should you have a problem, you can go and talk to a person in person. And also, for years and years, they've had industry-leading software support. That means that the value of your device goes on way down into the future. That's why buying into Apple isn't just the device. It's also about the experience that they bring you. You could call it the ecosystem. Now, looking at the actual price itself, the amount of comments I've had on my videos recently saying it's £100 too expensive or $100 too expensive. I'm going to explain in a moment why I think that's not necessarily the case. But first of all, let's look at how this phone's being bought. The majority of these phones are going to be coming through carrier deals. So the upfront ticket price doesn't really matter to you. It's that monthly amount that you're paying. And there are some crazy carrier deals which are only going to get better already out there. Now, let's say you go into an Apple store and you decide to buy the phone on 24 months credit-free finance through Apple. £25 a month for this phone. Again, looks pretty good value to me. And if you are one of the few people, like myself, that went into store and bought this phone outright for cash, well, I would argue that possibly the £100 extra we're arguing about here doesn't matter as much over the course of years you're using this phone, say 3, 4, 5 years, as opposed to the fact that, say, Apple had decided to lower the specs and have an LCD display on here rather than OLED, that would matter more to me. That's what I'm going to notice every day I'm using my phone, the lack of a good display, rather than that £100. I'm not saying £100 is inconsequential. It's a lot of money to anybody. But equally, over the course of the life of the phone, I don't think it matters as much as having a good display on there. While we're talking about display, let's talk about this whole 60 hertz thing. It's not a deal breaker for me. Some people will have you believe that the difference between a 60 hertz display and a 120 hertz display is as obvious as the nose on their face. I'm not one of those people. I would also say that for the majority of people that are coming to this phone, they may not have even have heard of refresh rates, 60 hertz or 120 hertz. So again, it really doesn't matter. Now, I can hear the argument, all Androids, even cheaper Androids, have got 120 hertz refresh rate panels. Possibly, but here's why. Android, because of the way it's structured, cannot control everything that goes into the phones. Apple is in a very enviable position where they can make sure they know exactly what's going into their phones and they can optimize the apps and the OS to make those apps look fantastic, even if it is only on a 60 hertz display. Apple has built this whole business, and it's only becoming more and more obvious now with the C1 modem that we'll talk about in a moment, that they are in control. So maybe we don't need 120 hertz as much as Androids do. iOS as an operating system is very, very different to the operating systems that are found on Android. By the way, if this is the first of my videos you've seen and you're kind of enjoying how we just sit and have a good conversation, then the best way to help me and the channel out is subscribing. Subscribe, turn on notifications and share. It just helps the channel grow and I can make more of these videos every week. The other area that's interesting to cover on this phone is the battery life. I've talked on it briefly in other videos and it's great. Now the battery itself isn't the biggest unit. In the 16E, it's a 4005 milliamp hour battery, and in my 16 Pro Max, to give it some context, it's a 4685 milliamp hour battery, so much bigger. And yet the 16E smokes it. Now that could be down to a number of reasons. It's possibly because there's no always on display, for instance. People moaned about the always on display and now they're moaning it's not on here. But it's not a big issue. A quick tap and it comes to life anyway. And then also it could be down to Apple's C1 modem and the A18 chip. And it's important to talk about that A18 chip. The iPhone 16e is the cheapest way for you to get your hands on the A18 chip. Apple claims that the new A18 chip is up to 30% faster in CPU performance compared to iPhone 15 with the A16 Bionic chip, and 50% faster compared to iPhone 14 with its A15 Bionic chip. Also, it can deliver the same CPU performance of the A16 Bionic chip whilst using 30% less power. Those are just some of the reasons it might be why the battery on this 16e is lasting so much better. And so when people say, oh, this phone's pointless, I should just go and buy a 15 Pro. I would say no. Buying a 15 Pro is buying older technology, and I don't think with much in the way of a win. Buy the 16E. You're getting newer, later, better, faster. Why buy older when there's something newer and fresher out there to use? I don't get that argument. What am I missing? Let's talk next about the camera on the 16E. Quite obviously, there is only a single camera, but does that honestly matter? I'd say not so much. With the 16E, you're getting a flagship camera, but with some great features, all at a lower price. Now, the 16E has this thing called a 2-in-1 camera system. It's got a 48 megapixel camera, their Fusion camera design. And all I can tell you is that you're going to get Apple results on it. Don't forget, the camera is only as good as the hands that it's in. It's not all about the camera technology. Some of it is about just what you see, what you frame, and the pictures that you're taking. And you're going to get great photo quality from the iPhone 16E. With the 16E, okay, it doesn't have a dedicated telephoto lens, but then again, it does have a 2x optical. And I think Apple say it can go up to 10 times digital zoom as well. But here's the point. A lot of the people I know just taking photos don't even tap the screen to focus. So are they honestly going to go and use a wide angle lens? Are they honestly going to be looking for 5x zoom? I don't think so. Sometimes less really is more. And because it's got less features on this phone, I'd argue that you're probably going to use more of them, and therefore it's better value. And okay, the video side of the phone, it hasn't got the best stabilization on it, but it's not trying to be a GoPro. If you know that's your user case, you wouldn't be looking to use this phone in those circumstances, would you? But from a video and photo point of view, you're going to get very Apple-esque experiences, and it's going to look great. It really is. That's all that matters. Just use the cameras for what they're designed for, and you'll get good results. So to the other losses that apparently we had on the 16E, there's no MagSafe. Not a big issue. Buy a case, buy some rings. There's ways of getting around it, and you can still charge wirelessly anyway. So I don't see that's a big issue. Okay, there's no dynamic island. Now, dynamic island on my 16 Pro Max, I use a bit. The majority, when I find it most useful, is in car parks, funny enough, for car park sessions. At home during the week, I use it for podcasts, I use it for Apple Music. It's a quick way to access the content I'm playing, but that's about it. Other than that, it's kind of this hidden feature that we've been talking about that doesn't get used all that much. And anyway, if you're an iPhone user, there's a very good chance that you wear an Apple Watch. And if you do, you're going to get so many notifications on there, you almost can do away with Dynamic Island. The Apple Watch, part of its beauty is the amount of notifications you get on there. And the ultra-wideband, people have been saying there's no ultra-wideband, you haven't got precision Find My. Now, I'm not trying to jinx myself here. I've never used Find My, ever. Not even for the Pencil Pro on my iPad. I haven't lost it. Yes, it would be nice to have on there, but again, I would sort of argue that where this phone is supposed to be used for the target audience is that people wouldn't know how to access Find My. They wouldn't be using Find My. So again, it's just kind of bloated software that's never going to be used. In many ways, the iPhone 16E represents the beauty and brilliance of an iPhone. It's the beauty of Apple design. It's simple to use, and it means that you can embrace and use everything that's on there. For £600, you're getting the full iPhone experience, but one that you can actually not be afraid of using. It's stripped back, it's bare bones, and I'm really loving it. It's been a breath of fresh air to use. Who's this phone for? Well, I've heard some Android users who have switched to it from some of the lower Samsung phones, for instance. And why are they enjoying it? Because you don't need to have a degree in iOS to use it and to get the best out of it. You can just pick it up out the box and immediately feel at home with it. It's a really simple interface to use. I've actually personalized the home screen on here because it just feels fun. It feels more mine. It feels less workified than the 16 Pro Max. Other people that are picking up this phone and enjoying it are people that have had the XR. The XR, I think, is now 6 or 7 years old. People are switching to this in their droves and finding it so much better, but kind of a lead on from there. And also the people that were lamenting the passing of the iPhone 13 mini, well, now you suddenly got, okay, it's not as small as a 13 mini, but it's small and it's light and it's easy to fit in your pocket. It's easy to carry around all day without knowing it's there. These are the sorts of people that are going to switch this phone in their droves. And that's who it's really aimed at. Don't overcomplicate this phone. Don't try and expect it to be something it never set out to be. Didn't ever want to be a pro-level phone. That's not what it was there for. Apple worked to a budget and they gave us most of the features that we're going to use most of the time. The strength of the 16E lies in its simplicity. Its simplicity is its strength, not its weakness. Now, if you've enjoyed hearing me talk about the iPhone 16E in this video, why don't you watch the video that's on screen now where I explain why it's a perfect partner to go with the iPad mini.